This no-bake peanut butter cheesecake is sweet, peanutty, chocolatey, creamy, and delicious. It's quick and easy to make and doesn't require an oven. Welcome to Recipes by Karina, where I share with you how to make classic and simply delicious recipes. Make sure to subscribe for a new video each week. No-bake cheesecakes are one of my favourite things to make, and I have so many different recipes. Boysenberry, chocolate, salted caramel, Oreo, and counting. I'll have the recipes for these linked below if you would like to try them. To make this peanut butter cheesecake, start with the biscuit base. For this I'm using Oreos, as peanut butter and chocolate is one of the best combinations. If you don't want to use Oreos, you can use any other type of cookie you would like. Just remember to double the butter if it doesn't have a cream centre. Place your Oreo cookies into a small food processor, running the motor until they are fine crumbs. If you don't have a food processor, you can do this part by hand. Just place your cookies into a large bag and use a heavy object like a rolling pin or fry pan to bash them. This is a great stress reliever. Place the crumbs into a bowl and measure out your butter. We'll need half a stick, a quarter of a cup, or 65 grams. You'll notice I give the measurements in metric and imperial, so no matter where you live in the world, the recipe should be easy enough to follow. If you would like the full recipe for this cheesecake, it will be on my website, as well as the full measurements listed in the description box below. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever tried any of my cheesecake recipes. Which one is your favourite, and any ideas you have for other flavours? I've made more cheesecakes in my life than I can count, and I would say my favourite flavour would have to be chocolate, closely followed by my boysenberry recipe. Melt the butter in a small saucepan or in the microwave and pour over the cookie crumbs. Use a spoon to combine the ingredients until you are left with the texture of wet sand. Pour your cookie base into a lined 8-inch or 20cm cake tin, preferably that is spring form so you won't have any issues removing it. Use the back of the spoon to press the cookie crumbs down into a flat, even layer. You don't need to really compact them, as the butter is what will hold them together. Just make sure there are no loose crumbs. Place the cake tin into the fridge to set while we make the filling. No-bake cheesecakes have a couple of components that don't change between flavours: whipped cream and cream cheese. Start by whipping your cream. You'll need 400 ml or 1 2/3 of a cup. You can do this by using a stand mixer or hand mixer, or just with a whisk. I'll usually do it by hand, as it only takes a few minutes if you make sure to use cream straight out of the fridge. We just want to softly whip this cream, as it will be whipped more when it's combined with the remaining cheesecake ingredients. If you've ever had trouble whipping cream, I have a full video on how to whip it, plus how to fix cream if you've over whipped it. You want to get it to the stage where it's only just starting to hold its shape. This should take only a minute or so if you're using a machine, or about 3 or so if you're using a whisk. I get many questions about whipping cream and common problems that often come up. One thing is to make sure you're using the right cream. There is heavy cream, light cream, whipping cream, double cream, single cream. All of these names is most often just referring to the fat percentage. Cream needs to have about 30 to 35% fat to whip, and with something like a cheesecake, you want to make it closer to the 35% mark. If you're not sure, check the back of the bottle and you should be safe with whipping cream, heavy cream, or double cream. Place the whipped cream to the side, and in a clean bowl add your cream cheese. The most important tip here is to make sure your cream cheese is at room temperature. Cream cheese is actually very prone to splitting, so make sure it's been out of the fridge for at least a few hours. Measure out a cup or 125 grams of icing sugar or powdered sugar These are both the same ingredient, just different names depending on where you live in the world. Try not to make as big of a mess as me while you're doing it. Using the whisk, give these two ingredients a good mix until they are well combined. It will take a minute or so for the cream cheese to soften, but you should have a smooth mixture. And the star ingredient for this cheesecake, peanut butter. You can use whichever type you would like, but I think smooth cheesecakes work best, so I'm going with smooth peanut butter. This peanut butter is over 99% peanuts. The only other ingredient it has is salt, so it's going to provide the best peanut flavour. You can use whatever kind you have on hand, but if you are getting some specifically for this recipe, I would recommend picking one that only has peanuts and salt. If your peanut butter is sweetened, you may need to use less sugar, or you might find your cheesecake is way too sweet depending on your tastes. Don't worry about the salt, just like with salted caramel, it works really well here. Measure out 3/4 cup of the peanut butter and add it to the cheesecake mixture. Using your whisk, give this a good mix to combine. It will be quite thick, but just make sure you've gotten all of the peanut butter that's stuck at the bottom. Lastly, all we have left to do is add the whipped cream. Pour it into the mixing bowl with the cheesecake mixture and begin to fold it together. As we only softly whipped the cream earlier, you don't need to worry about it over whipping here. This cheesecake doesn't need anything to set it. The cream cheese and peanut butter thickening in the fridge will be enough. With that said, make sure to serve it from the fridge, as it will soften if it has been left out. Remove your cake tin with the biscuit base from the fridge and pour over the cheesecake filling. Smooth it out using an offset spatula and place it back into the fridge for at least 6 hours or overnight to set. Nothing goes better with peanut butter than chocolate, so a dark chocolate ganache is the perfect topping for this cheesecake. Pour half a cup or 125 ml of cream into a small saucepan and place it over medium heat. Remove the cream just before it comes to a boil and pour it over 200 grams or 7 ounces of chopped dark chocolate. Leave it to sit for a few minutes for the chocolate to melt before mixing it together with a spoon until the ganache is completely smooth. Dark chocolate works best here, the rich flavour goes well with the peanut butter cheesecake filling. Leave your ganache for about an hour or so until it has thickened into a spoonable consistency. We're going to pour it over the top of the cheesecake, pushing it over the sides so we don't want it to just drip right off. Alternatively, you can leave your cheesecake in the cake pan at this point and just pour your ganache straight over the top, leaving it in the fridge until you are ready to serve. When the ganache is thick, remove the cheesecake from the pan and pour the ganache straight over the top. Use an offset spatula to spread it, pushing it over the edge so it starts to fall down the sides. Roughly chop about a handful of peanuts, salted or unsalted both work here, and sprinkle them around the edge of the peanut butter cheesecake. Make sure to do this before the ganache completely sets, as it will hold the peanuts in place. Place the cheesecake back into the fridge for at least 2 more hours for the ganache to set before serving. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe and take a look at my other cheesecake recipes. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.